Hi everyone, it's Lisa with InkandInspirations.com and welcome to today's video. We are going to be making some easy Halloween packaging that you can customize and adapt for any occasion. So grab yourself a drink and let's get started. Before we get started in our project, I wanted to talk about a few changes that are coming in our product line. So first of all, these clear stamps are what we call our photopolymer stamps. These red rubber stamps are what we call our cling stamps, and Stampin' Up! Is phasing these out. We are going to go strictly with photopolymer, which in November of 2025, all stamp sets will be produced in photopolymer. Now you may be asking, why are we getting rid of the red rubber? Well, first of all, the two reasons. First, the raw materials to make this at our facility in Kanab, that what they have brought in is getting very hard to find, if at all. And so it's just being too difficult to produce these and relying on those raw materials. And instead of all of a sudden we can't get those materials and we cut it off, they're going to just gradually fade into shifting strictly to photopolymer, the clear stamp. Another reason is most customers and demonstrators have been leaning toward purchasing photopolymer stamps, which I love because they're lightweight and they are easy to stamp with, and you can see through it so you know exactly where you're stamping. So just be aware of that. If you would like to keep posted on all of those things, if keep like for me to keep you posted, be sure you are on my email list, and I'll put the link in the description of the video, okay? And so you'll get all the information. Another thing too is we're shifting our packaging, going to all photopolymer. So the DVD style cases will be going away, and the packaging, we don't have anything like it now, but it is more on the lines of this plastic envelope, okay? And the stamp sets and the dies will all be in the same size for easy storage, okay? So you'll be hearing more about that as we go on. And like I said, be sure you're on my email list so you can keep up to date with everything. Now, another thing, most of you may be aware that we have a section in our online store that's called the Last Chance products. These are where products go when they are on their way out, so to speak, what we used to call being retired, and now the term we use is being discontinued. So in that section of the online store, you can find lots of items that were in past catalogs or past online exclusives, and they are now listed there, and many of them at reduced prices. So you should always check this out in case some of your favorites are there. Now, recently, as of the time of this recording, going live is August 21st, 2025. So yesterday, August 20th, our Stampin' Write markers are all in the Last Chance list. And so I'm just pulling some out that I have. I have these in every color, every Stampin' Up! Color. So these are on the Last Chance list, and once they're sold out, they'll no longer be available. Again, you may be asking why. And one of the main reasons is because the popularity of our Stampin' Blends. Okay, and so many people have shifted to buying the Stampin' Write water-based markers to the Stampin' Blend alcohol markers for coloring, and that's one of the reasons. Also, one of the main techniques that I know that I used these Stampin' Write markers for was to color on our cling or red rubber stamps. That's not one. Let me just give you an example here. This is a sentiment set, but if you wanted the words to be a different color, you could take the marker and brush over the different words in different color and have a multicolor stamp. Well, since these are going away, that technique per se is going away. Okay, so there really won't be the need for those who are purchasing Stampin' Write markers to do that type of technique. And I know these have been around a long, long time. And I know many of you will probably really miss having these available. So my suggestion to you is to visit that last chance list and get what you need, okay? And if that you have favorites, go ahead and get those and have those on hand for when if you keep your red rubber stamps, which I have some favorites that I will definitely be keeping, and you can use these to color for different colored images, okay? Again, be sure you're on my email list so you can keep up to date with all this. So these are like in the last chance section of the online store. Once they're sold out, they're gone. Okay. All right. Don't forget about the 2025-2027 in color product sale, 15% off. I posted this week on my social media channel, Facebook, that what I loved, one of the things I loved here was the ribbon in these new in colors. So you can get inks, you can get refills, you can get designer papers that have these colors in them. Just be sure you look at that. There's a special section for that in the online store too, okay, for sales. But the ribbon is gorgeous, and so just putting that out there in case you like ribbon to put on your cards. Those are very, very pretty ribbons, and they are discounted until the end of the month. Okay, coming soon is the mini catalog, what I affectionately like to call the holiday catalog, but now we call it September to December because it has lots of ideas in it. I can't show you the inside of it yet, but if you do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you would like for me to send you a catalog, just send me an email at lisa@inkandinspirations.com, and I'll get with you and see what we have to do to get you a catalog. If you do have a demonstrator that you have a relationship with and that you order from, be sure and reach out to her or him, and they will be happy to give you one of the new mini catalogs. Okay? All right, now we're going to get started on our first project. Okay, for our first project, I have sized it for one of these pocket back mini antibacterial hand sanitizers like you can get at Bath and Body. This one is their seasonal one, pumpkin pecan waffles. Now I found these package of 5 assorted on Amazon, so I'm sure they have some in the stores now, or you can find little candies or small little pieces of like post-it notes, little miniature size post-it notes that are going to fit in this container, but it's for a small treat. And these are sized perfectly for this little hand sanitizer. So I'm using the Spooky Halloween Suite, which has the designer paper and the ribbon and all of the goodies, as well as the Spooky Halloween stamp set, which I just love, and the coordinating dies. So let's start off with our base for our packaging. And so it's 4.5 by 6, and then we're going to score it on the 6-inch side, 1 3/4, 2 3/4, 4.5, 5.5. Then we're going to turn it, and on the 4.5-inch side, score it 1 and 4. So let me get my Simply Scored scoring tool, and we are going to take care of this. I love making these little treat bags, and you know, you can size them for something in particular and then it works for lots of different things, which is the case for this one. So that's 1 3/4, 2 3/4, 4.5, and 5.5. Then we're going to turn it, and this will be the bag excuse me, the bag bottom. And so I'm going to score that at 1. And then for the top, I'm scoring up here at 4 inches. So like we usually do, we're going to take our bone folder and give all of these score lines a good crease, which is always so important, especially when you're doing a 3-dimensional products and with our good heavyweight Stampin' Up! Cardstock. So let's just do that quickly. And so I've chosen basic black for the base. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to cut off this bottom rectangle formed by the 1-inch score down here, okay, and then cut up on all of those other score lines just to that intersecting. And then we're going to put this together. I think I'm going to go ahead and use Stampin' Seal Plus, but you can definitely use tear and tape. And I'm going to go down this narrow tab here that we have, bring this side over and fold it and secure. Okay, so that little seam there where it's connected, we're going to call that the back. Okay, and we're going to take it and I'm going to have it toward the back. We're going to put the two sides in, fold the back flap, and then the front flap will fold over, and that's the one that will have your adhesive. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pinch this a bit, and you see when you do that and you have that little 1/2-inch score up there, how it makes a neat little top. Okay, now let's decorate this. I have some of the Spooky Sweet Designer Series paper in this pumpkin pie and black speckle, 2 pieces at 1.5 by 2 3/4. And I'm going to put one of those on the front and one on the back. So on this one, I'm going to use liquid glue. So we'll have a little wiggle room to move it around if we need to. So that's going to leave a little black border. It's going under that 1/2-inch score line there. And then let's flip it around. And here's our back. And glue that one on. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so now we have that. Okay, we're going to let that set a minute. And I have most of these pieces prepared and ready to go. So let's look at what I have here. I have a strip of pumpkin pie cardstock that's a 1/2-inch wide that I'm going to use to stamp a sentiment on, a little treat sentiment. And then out of the sheet of die cut, ready to go images, I cut out, or I punched out the tree. Let me just show you here. In the designer paper package, we have this. It has all of these little images that you can just punch out and use. And so I punched out, it has 2 of these trees on this sheet, and then there's another sheet with all of these. And then I punched it out, and then I cut it in half. Okay, so let me see here. I am going to take the tree and I am going to line up the flat side over here on this other side. So this top part of the bag is going to pinch in. So I don't want to glue this down, okay, because that'll kind of make it curved, and I want this to end up standing up straight. So I'm going to put adhesive along here just on the side of the designer paper. And then I'm also going to put a little bit right down here. Line that up. And line that up on the side. Okay, so we have half of a tree, but then you have that little eerie kind of look, okay? Then you can go in and put some little dots of adhesive where you see you might need it, so it will adhere nicely, okay? So we're going to let that dry just a little bit. Then I took this little cat and I stamped it and colored it with my Stampin' Blends. And I'm going to put her right here on the front. And I'm just going to glue her down. And I also have this little broom that she's going to be holding. So I'm going to put a dot of glue right on her little paw there. And then I'm going to attach that and hold it just a minute, let it set. Doesn't take long. And then we're going to put her right there. I don't want the broom off the edge there so that it doesn't get all wrinkled and crinkled. So I'm using some liquid glue. Let's go ahead and put her down. Just like that. Okay, so she has that little tree in the background, okay, and she's ready to go. Now, for a sentiment, what I'm going to do is, oops, I have a little wiggle room back here. I didn't wait for it to dry, so I'm being brave and moving this just a bit. We're gonna say it's good, okay? All right, so right here I have some scrap paper. I have this strip, and I'm going to stamp. Let's see, it should be in my little basket ready to go. Where is it? Here it is. It's up here in front of me. Take some Memento Black ink, and I want it to say Eat Sweet, so I'm mainly inking up that second half of the stamp set. And then I'm going to stamp Eat Sweets. Okay, and then we're just going to cut that out. Just like this. So that's about a 1/2 inch piece. And you can trim it down as much as you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and make it smaller. Just like that. And then I'm going to put this right up here. That is going to be super cute, just right on top there. So let's go ahead. Okay. Let that go. Now I'm going to get some little embellishments that are also in this suite of products. And they're these little foam shimmer stars. And I'm going to use the black ones because I think those are going to show up better. Let's take that there. Let's take one of these mid-size ones. And let's go down here with it. Okay. All right. Super cute there. Let's get all these little pieces out of the way. So there we have that. And then this can bend in. If you'd like to close the top, you can punch a hole. And I'm going to show you that on a different one I'm going to make. But on this one, I'm just deciding to leave it open. And I'll probably put some of our cardstock, thin strips of cardstock filler on the inside. Okay, so let me show you another one I made. I'm not waiting long enough for it to dry. Let's see, here it is. This one, I used the other side of that tree, but I also used the little die cut from the die set that goes with this right here. I put some yellow behind it for the lighting and the other half of the tree, and I stamped Happy Halloween and cut that out, and then I used one of the bat die cuts up there at the top. Okay, so there are two options right there. So now I'm going to show you a fall version. All right, let me kind of clean up my mess here. And we'll get going. Okay, for our fall themed version, I have another one of these antibacterial hand gels. It's called Leaves. Isn't that cute? All right, so we're starting with Cajun Craze cardstock, and we're going to score it and cut it again just like the first one. So I'm going to take my Simply Scored, and we're going to go 1 3/4, 2 3/4, 4 1/2, 5 1/2, turn it, and score at 1 and 4. Okay, so we're going to once again give all of these a good burnish with a bone folder and cut up on those. So I like to keep these, you can keep these as simple or as ornate as you like. You can see on this, Halloween one, I took the time to color a cute little image, and I think these are great, like teacher gifts or friends gifts or co-workers would be fun. And but if I were making quite a few of these, okay, I would probably do it where I could do it like a simpler style where I'm not doing as much coloring, because if I need to make quite a few, I may want to just do something simple like a stamped sentiment. So that's what I'm going to show you here. Okay, I'm cutting up on all the score lines like we did on the first one. Let's see, grab my silicone mat. And you know, I have this silicone mat underneath here in case the adhesive goes off the cardstock and doesn't get on my work surface. Okay. All right. So we're going to fold it over. Okay. And again, I'm finding my back. That's my seam. Putting that toward the back. Folding the two sides in, the back, and then adhesive on the front flap that's going to fold toward the back. So there we have that. I'm going to go ahead and pinch in. This time I'm using two of the same 1.5 by 2 3/4 inch pieces of this beautiful fall themed paper called Splendid Autumn. And I love that this paper carried over. Our 6x6 stacks that have the scenic views are absolutely gorgeous. I love them all. So I keep them on hand. They make your card making and your project making very easy when you're trying to choose coordinating papers. You can use the colors within the designer paper to decide what colors you're going to use for your cardstock. Just as a great, great little tool to start with as far as paper is concerned. Okay, so now I have that. I used the Stampin' Seal so I wouldn't have any wiggling. And now on this, I used my Stylish Shapes dies to stamp this color is Pumpkin Pie, this is Crushed Curry. And I am going to put that, place it like this, where I have that banner peeking out from behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp a sentiment here, and it is from an online exclusive called Label Me Grateful. I love these sentiments. This one I'm going to put You're the Best. Okay, so I'm going to put this down here. Let me see. I believe I used Cajun Craze ink, or had planned to use that, since that's our base. And then I have the You're the Best already mounted. So let's ink that up. And we're going to stamp it on this circle. Okay, so now let's put this together. I'm going to move my ink out of the way. And I think I'm just going to glue that. I'm going to put adhesive just in the center so it doesn't extend off the side of the little box bag. Like that. And then take You're the Best. Isn't that cute? And you can see those leaves behind it. Put some adhesive down the center. And go with it like this. All right. And then let me put my little pocket back in there and show you how I'm going to close this one. All right. So you could put embellishments. Oh, I did it the wrong side. See the back? That's okay. I usually like that seam to be at the back, but I wasn't paying attention, talking too much. Okay, so I'm going to punch a hole through all the layers up here on that little 1/2 inch piece, okay? Then I'm going to take, this is some of that beautiful in color Timid Tiger ribbon, which I thought blended very well with these colors. And I take a piece and I thread it through the front, hole in the front, hole in the back, come up, and I want them to extend a little bit above the top of the bag. So I've got that there. Let's trim those off at an angle. They don't have to be the same height, okay? In fact, it kind of looks good if it's not. All right, then I'm going to take a piece of linen thread. What would we do without our linen thread, right? The one little fiber that goes with everything, unless you have a sparkly metallic-y card. But I have found that when you're doing something like this, wow, it's just the perfect little finishing touch. So I'm tying very tight right there, holding that ribbon together, and then tying a bow. So this, to get into the little pocket back inside this bag, this would have to be untied, but that's totally okay. It's like the so much fun with unwrapping a gift. Okay, so let's see if we can add something else to this. I'm going to get my basic rhinestones. See if I pack already open. Let's use this one. Goodness. All right, and I'm going to get my dark Cajun Craze marker, and I'm going to color a few of these. So I'm going to do 2 of these mid-size and then a small one. Let's see what we can do with that. So I found that whenever I do not have the right color of embellishments, I always keep these on hand, okay? And they work great. Take your pick tool. It's somewhere on my desk. I'm using this old antiquated one. So I'm going to put here and here. Then I'm going to come up here on this other part. Okay, just like that. Okay, so there are 3 little pocket back ideas, but you could put the little boxes of Nerds, the little mini candy bars that you get at Christmas and Halloween, you know, for the holidays. So those will all fit inside, and customize it for any occasion. Okay, so next we're going to do an easy wrap on a candy bar. So let's get started on that. Okay, for our next project, we are going to uh, decorate that cover of this little Kit Kat Ghost Toast. Okay, it's cinnamon toast flavored, super cute. And really, with this idea, you can do it with any size candy bar. You just have to adjust the width of your paper and the length to wrap around. So a lot of times I'll always start with like these pieces here we'll be using. I start with the 12 by 12 piece, and then I wrap it around us, and I want it to overlap a little bit so I can adhere it, and then I cut off the excess. So for this one, let's go ahead and look at the pieces that we're using. This is all from Spooky Halloween, Spooky Sweet Designer Series paper. And this is cut 5 inches wide by 9¼ inches tall. And I have the little windows going the lengthwise so that they'll be the right side up on my little candy bar. I have another piece from that same pack, 2¼ by 9¼ okay? And then a strip of still another piece from that paper, because it all coordinates, 1 by 9¼ and then I'm using this scrap of Petunia Pop to stamp my sentiment on. I wanted to bring out that Petunia Pop here on this little candy strip. And then I cut one of the ready-made tags that was from this sheet of designer paper. There were 3 of these, I think 3 or 4 of these, 4 of them. 4 of these little tags here that we're going to use for our tag, so to speak. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this main part ready, and then we'll do the embellishing. All right, so let's take our 5 by 9¼ inch piece, and we're going to center it. Okay, since I've already got it measured, I know it's going to work. And I'm just going to fold this over. I don't score anything on this. I just kind of crease it with my fingers, and then come around this way and crease it, and then I'll turn it around and see how that looks. I like that. Okay, and so I'm going to put adhesive just on this piece so it can be slid off the candy bar when you're ready to eat it. Okay, so we have that going. All right, so this is up and down the right way. Let's take the 2¼ by 9¼ inch piece, And we're going to do the same thing. Go in the center, come around, overlap, and let's go ahead and put our adhesive just on the one side, fold it around, match up the sides there, and then kind of give it a crease with your fingers. Okay, so see how that's going? Now the 1 by 9 1/4 inch piece around the center. And you can layer this up as much as you'd like. I like using the different coordinating designer papers because it's fun. It adds some color and it makes just a simple little gift something very special. Okay? All right, so there we have that. Okay, so now I'm going to make a little tag, so to speak. But first, let me go ahead and show you what I'm going to do with the ribbon. Now, this really adds to it. So I leave it on the bolt. I take it, and on one of them, I tied it in a bow. But I think this one I may just tie in a knot. And I'll show you the bow one when we get through here. So I want to be sure I have enough. I'm using both the Petunia Pop ribbon that comes in the suite with that little sparkly finish, and then the In Color ribbon that's on sale right now in Timid Tiger. And I'm going to tie a nice little knot here on top. And I'm tying both ribbons at the same time. Make it easy on yourself. Okay. And you could totally do this project without the ribbon. Okay. I could take the tag that I'm going to make and just glue it in the center here, and it would be fine without it. But this really dresses it up and makes it really fun and special. Okay. So I'm tying that tight. And I'm probably going to leave all that hanging. That's just fun. Okay. So now for the tag, I'm going to take this piece again here. And I am not a fan of this little goblin. So I'm going to cover him up. I'm using the candy corn piece from the die cuts from the designer paper. And I'm going to glue that over top of that little goblin or whatever it is. Just like that. Okay. Then I am going to stamp and color directly on this tag. Okay, so I'm using this little pup that looks like a little Frankenstein, some Memento Black ink because I'm going to be coloring with my Stampin' Write markers. And I'm going to stamp it right there in the center. Love the photopolymer so I can see exactly where I'm stamping. Cute. And okay, let me show you the colors I'm using. I have light granny apple green, light crumb cake, light pumpkin pie, light petunia pop. Okay, so first I'm going to color his shirt, and I'm using all green for that. Just color it super simple. And I'll have to say, when you're coloring on this designer paper, it's not as smooth and doesn't blend as well as when you're stamping and coloring on our basic white cardstock, but it's still very cute. And I wasn't planning on really doing any blending. So I'm going to do this, that. I'm going to do this top stripe on his sock in the granny apple green. Okay. So next I'm going to take light pumpkin pie, and I'm going to do these little screw knobbies on his throat like old Frankenstein, and then color the sucker in light pumpkin pie. Then I'm going to take the Petunia Pop, color his breeches, and make sure I'm covering all the white, and then I'm going to do the bottom stripe there. Then I'm taking light crumb cake, and I'm coloring the pup. I think I want to use the brush tip. That's a little bit of a larger area, and I find it easier. Get up in those little, underneath that little hat. Circular motion works well. Trying to fill in all the white right here. These little paws. Okay, he's good to go. So he's on there ready, and then let's take our Petunia Pop cardstock, and I'm using that Don't Worry, Eat Sweets again. I'm really liking these little sentiments in this set. They're cute. There's one word that says spooky. I haven't used that one yet. I haven't had the occasion. But it's not scary, you know, it's just spooky, like spooky sweet. Okay, on this one, I'm going to cut it apart, fussy cut, and not worry about it being super straight. Just get close to the words without cutting on the words, cutting through them, I should say. Okay. And then I'm going to do the Don't Worry, Eat Sweets in 2 different pieces. And let me show you how this is going to work here. I'm going to put this at the top of my little tag. So let me use liquid glue for that and hope it'll set. Don't worry, eat sweets. Push it up a little bit. I don't want to get so close to the puppy dog's head. And then I'm going to take just a little bit, instead of punching a hole in this, like I have done in the past to secure it to the ribbon, I'm just doing it like this and tucking it underneath, like it's the tag. Okay? Isn't that cute? Okay, look, here's the other one, the original. Okay, this one you can see I tied a bow. Okay, it just looks a little different. I like them both, so it's a matter of personal preference. And there's an easy way to wrap a candy bar and make it so special. And then these little treat bags work for so many things. There's our fall version. Here is our Halloween version. And I hope you will give those a try. So much fun. Thank you for tuning in and watching today. If I can help you with anything, or you have any questions about the Stampin' Up! Product, if you need a catalog, please reach out to me at lisa@inkinspirations.com. I'm Lisa Brown, inspiring you to create, share, and make a difference. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.